I just want to start off by saying that I really like the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And then about an hour goes by and I check social media and I see a lot of negative reviews about the Direct, and I'm like, okay, what is going on? I liked it. And I kept scrolling, but I didn't scroll that far to see why everyone was mad.
Oh!
I mean, like, yeah, like, this is Nintendo. There's no fucking way. $80 for Mario Kart? That's a hard pill to swallow right there. And as the days kept going on, I've seen worse and worse news all the way up until yesterday at the time of recording, where I saw the worst news yet. So in this video, we're going to talk about the aftermath of the Switch 2 Direct. Now, before we talk about the aftermath of the Direct, let's talk a little bit about the Direct itself. Now, like I said earlier, the Switch 2 Direct itself, I actually really liked. I mean, I made a short talking about how I wanted just 60 frames per second, but we got 120 frames and 4K on the Switch 2. I can't believe it. Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 got announced is going to come to the Switch. A new Firm Software game is coming to the Switch, and I know a lot of Elden Ring fans are happy about that. And even the new Donkey Kong game looks really cool. But I highlight all this because during Direct, there was one red flag that I wasn't too keen about. And that was the little Astrobot game that explained how the hardware was for the Switch while also having like a cool little game incorporated into it. The reason why this was a red flag was because it was paid. When I'm watching the Direct initially, I was thinking it was about to be free. But to my surprise and to the chat surprise during the Direct, it wasn't, and people were outraged. And this seems to be the type of direction that Nintendo's going with for better or for worse. Now, one interesting fact that people might not realize unless you watch the Direct was that prices weren't announced during the Direct. Specifically for Mario Kart, because I was wondering why everyone was complaining about Mario Kart like I alluded to earlier until I checked the price. Because when the Switch 2 was announced, even before this Direct, we knew a Mario Kart game was coming out. And I will say, as someone who was not excited for a Mario Kart game, the Mario Kart game actually looks pretty cool. Does it look $80 cool? I don't know. And yes, $80, not $90. There's a strange rumor going on online that's for some reason the physical copy of the game will be $90 and the digital copy of the game will be $80. But if you go to the actual Nintendo website, it says that Mario Kart is $79.99 and Donkey Kong is $69.99. So there's no explicit official information that says it will be $90 for a physical copy. But for reasons that I'll explain at the end of this video, Mario Kart could end up being $90 by the time it gets to the US. But back to the point I made earlier, I wonder why Nintendo didn't show any of the prices for the games or for the Switch itself. Speaking of the Switch itself, after the Direct was over, it was revealed that the Switch will cost $450. And I bet you know how Twitter felt about this. I mean, it got so bad that the former Nintendo PR says Switch 2 and Mario Kart World Price Backlash is a true crisis moment. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but I see an overwhelming majority of people being extremely mad about the pricing of not only the Switch itself, but the games for the Nintendo Switch 2. What do I think?
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. I don't know. On one hand, I do believe $450 for the Switch 2, although I don't want to play it. I'm not too mad about that price. What's really getting me is the $80 games. Here's a post that I found on Twitter saying that Red Dead Redemption 2 cost $400 million to make from the ground up and sold for $60. Now, Mario Kart is using reused assets for less than $50 million and wants to sell it for $90. Now, you have some people saying like, well, it's Nintendo, you know, it's their IP. You know, there's only one place you can play Mario and Mario Kart. However, if Nintendo's raising their prices to $80, what the hell is GTA 6 going to cost? If Nintendo can make an $80 game, then so can the next God of War, or the next Spider-Man, or something like that. And of course, you have the Nintendo fans, which I'm a Nintendo fan myself, are going to kind of try to justify this action, even though I don't know how justifiable it actually is. And of course, there's the old argument of inflation, that the price of the game should have been this much to begin with, if we talk about how the prices of games haven't fluctuated for a long time. I also can't really speak on that. Maybe future me in editing might do some research on that, but I will say that the prices of games are raising exponentially. Now, as of today of recording this video, we got some even worse news. I also want to make a huge disclaimer before I say the news that I don't want this to become a political discussion at all. I'm not here for that. I'm just kind of reading what the news says. But pre-ordering for the Nintendo Switch 2 was originally supposed to start on April 9th, 2025. However, as of today, pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 in the US will not start on April 9th, 2025 in order to assess the potential impacts of tariffs and evolving market conditions. Nintendo will update the timing at a later date, but the launch for the Nintendo Switch 2 will stay June 5th, 2025. So if you're in the US, which a lot of people who watch my videos are, we can't even pre-order Switch 2 yet. And I also want to highlight the fact how they're talking about the tariffs for the Switch 2 is the reason why they're not allowing the pre-orders to happen now. There's a great chance due to these tariffs that the Nintendo Switch 2 prices will increase as well as the games for the Switches will increase. So that's why I said earlier in the video that there's a great chance that the Mario Kart could cost $90 due to the tariffs. But if you're not in the US and you want to pre-order the Switch 2, there are actually requirements that you must follow in order to be eligible in order to pre-order. These are put in place in order to stop scalpers. The requirement is that you have at least 2 years of Nintendo Switch Online and an active membership of Nintendo Switch Online when the pre-order is placed, and have at least 50 hours of gameplay on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now I also want to highlight that this is a way for you to guarantee get a pre-order spot for the Switch 2. So you can still try to pre-order from other places, but if you remember how hard it was getting a PS5, I'm sure it's going to be just as hard getting a Switch 2. Looking more into this, I'm kind of more liking this type of process because I initially thought, and I think a lot of people initially thought, in order to pre-order the Switch 2, you had to follow these requirements. If you don't satisfy these requirements, you just can't pre-order. That's not true, but this will give you a guaranteed spot. I think the first rollout for the invitations come out May 8th. So I know a lot of people were kind of mad about this, but this is actually not a bad thing. It's actually kind of cool. So that has been the craziness that is the aftermath of the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. If you want me to make a video on the Direct itself and what I'm most excited for, leave it down in the comments below. If you're a gamer and also love anime, I made a video on the newest Bleach game that I'll leave right here and see you over there. We're on the road to 800 subscribers. Thank you so much for watching the video, and until next time, stay tuned.
Damn, check me in the right stool with a couple of my mans. Smack the dumb boy in his motherfucking head, call me Dirty Dan.